for the podcast, and then I like totally left my list at work. But I'm sure
I always had a good wrestling insider term name for a podcast.
What's that?
Enhancement talent.
Oh, I like that.
That's not bad.
That's good. I'm gonna write that down here.
And it's apropos since they're starting to bring that back now.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you guys mind if I tweet out the YouTube link to this and we can get a couple people watching us?
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, sure.
I will tweet it out and just say, hey, feel free to jump in and watch our new show and give us some tips and some hints of what you'd like to talk about. Okay, I'm gonna.
So will there be like a chat feed, or will that just be through Twitter?
I've got to figure out how to set all that stuff up. Like I said, they're just switching over to YouTube and everything, but
Right.
we'll start with Twitter now, and then we'll just get into the. I know there is a chat feed that you can do, so.
Okay.
It's kind of set up like Twitch. In fact, I know a lot of people who record through Twitch as well, and that's also an option. We could just set it up through Twitch, and that kicks it out to YouTube automatically.
Just let me grab a drink of water for a quick second.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I'll just be 30 seconds.
I'm using my phone, so that's what.
Oh, even better. How have you been?
Oh, I've been doing good. Just finally got home from work.
Oh, yeah.
Just traffic was terrible on the way home.
Oh, I hear you, man.
But I don't have to go back in tonight, so that's a win. I could talk somebody else into it, so.
All right, the first tweet is out. Watch.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to get some water because I'm sipping on a Diet Dr. Pepper, and I'm realizing I don't want to be burping on the air.
Yeah.
It's a little fizzy, so I'll put that to the side.
Us your thoughts. All right. And I'm gonna watch that viewer number and see how that goes. Hopefully, like someone joins in. If not, no big deal. Anyways, I'll count us in right now, and we'll get started. So, 3, 2, 1. Welcome, friends, family. I don't know. I don't even know where to begin with this. Is my first time recording this specific podcast to the first episode of our brand new wrestling focused sports entertainment focused podcast.
Sports entertainment. We're talking about WWE only.
Yeah, exactly. For www.sidequesting.com. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We're trying to figure out what to do with this podcast. We're really excited, and we want to make sure that that we're having fun and you guys are having fun. I'm Dolly Domofsky, and I'm joined by the wonderful John Kehoe.
Hello there. I'm without a video camera at the moment, so pardon my giant blue face if that's what you're seeing on the screen while I talk. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be talking about some wrestling, which I tweet about excessively. So get ready.
Awesome. And JJ, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. Doing great. Excited to be here.
Yes.
Get to talk about wrestling nonstop like I usually always do on Twitter, but.
And so that was kind of where the podcast began. Is I would see whenever there's an event or Monday Night Raw or whatever or SmackDown, I would just see like the same group of people would be tweeting about wrestling, and that's how I was keeping up to date with wrestling and trying to understand and figuring out who, what kind of the major players are and stuff. And I thought, man, I started interacting a little bit with some of you guys, but then I thought I would love to like really chat with you about wrestling and see where maybe we could do a podcast. And we all agreed that it could be a pretty fun thing. So
yeah. So
here we are. I mean, it's organic. It's the simplest way to start a podcast is just hit record, and instead of tweeting it on a keyboard, just like actually speak it, which is tough. I don't know if I can speak as well as I tweet. I could edit myself when I'm tweeting at least.
For sure.
Be a lot of ums and
Yeah, yeah, they'll and me coughing, and I'll try to mute myself from all the coughing. Like I was telling everybody, I just had ice cream, so my throat's gonna be frozen in some respect. But we've got a couple viewers. Hello, viewers. I have no idea who's watching us, but hi. So forgive my lighting. I've got to get better lighting in here. I'm still like, I have kind of like a really tiny office. It's not even an office. It's a unused bedroom that I've converted into a semi-office. So I've got like some posters in the background, and I have the original light that came with the room, which is that ugly, warm light with like that really nasty crystal enclosure, so it's diffusing everything horribly, and I look like a vampire. I look like I'm in the dark.
well, I can't even turn the light on in this room anymore, or else
You're super
who
bright
knows
though,
what
so that's
wire
good.
it is.
You're like the most. I mean, I would say maybe John's the most lit up because he's just a blue ball, but this after John, I can see you much clearer than I can see myself.
It's still the sun's still high up over here. So.
That's true. That's true. You're over on that west coast.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very
It's
nice.
not even gonna air here for another 2 hours.
Well, we have a lot of cool stuff, just planned. I guess we had a lot of cool ideas that we had chatted about, and
Yeah.
and I'd love to just kind of go organically. But really, one of the first things I wanted to do was just kind of lay out like the status of wrestling in the WWE, because a lot of things have happened over the last few weeks here.
Oh, yeah.
With GMs, the split, the draft, blah blah blah, and now we got SummerSlam coming up, and there's drama, and there's all kinds of stuff happening, which is great. It's kind of cool that there's this whole big sphere of wrestling stuff happening, and I'm taking my baby steps back into it. I've been watching it kind of like the corner of my eye and keeping track of what's happening, and I know the majority of the major players, but now with the draft and the Raw SmackDown split, it's kind of new to me on who went where and all that stuff.
It's a lot to take in, especially when it's spread across an entire week worth of content.
Sure. And now with the WWE Network, it's awesome. I mean, you get everything in there. Although SmackDown and Raw aren't on WWE Network, are they?
Yeah, no, because their licensing agreements with USA. So it's like, I forget, it's like a month.
Yeah,
Is it?
it's a month delay on the
It's
repeat.
a 90-minute version on Hulu the next day.
Oh, okay.
So they actually
Alright.
they actually edit it and cut it in half to make it.
And I know there's like
a more watchable show
Okay,
in some
sure.
cases in 90 minutes.
I know that they'll spit out like segments on WWE's website, and that's kind of how I caught up. I didn't get a chance to watch last night. I was actually working late, but I caught a bunch of the segments just through the WWE website and watched watched the dude run on. Was it the guy that ran onto the?
fan.
The fan.
Yeah, fan. Yeah. Seth Rollins' face last night.
Yeah.
He got arrested.
He got arrested, yeah.
Rollins did a great job incorporating that into the whole Demon King thing.
Yeah.
A guy in a hockey mask. Is this him? Is this really him?
It worked out pretty good. I mean, that is one of the really cool things about modern wrestling is how these guys aren't just amazing athletes, because they're in phenomenal condition. They're able to do all these this level of fighting that no one was able to do, or very few were able to do in the past. But at the same time, their personalities and the way that they're educated on, it's almost like improv. They need to know how to react quickly to everything.
And the best ones throughout history have been best at sort of being able to improvise when needed to, like learning how to take advantage of a microphone situation has always been very important.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, that ability to listen to a crowd and know how they're going to react to what you're gonna say, and then be able to think a few moves ahead when possible. I mean, the improv aspect of wrestling these days may be a little less important as it was once upon a time.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guys who have those kinds of skills are the guys who get ahead.
No, nobody remembers the heel that his whole shtick is just your sports team sucks and your women are ugly. That's,
Hello, Dallas. Did I tell you Pittsburgh's better?
yeah, it's just cheap. It's being able to take advantage of taking advantage of what the crowd is throwing at you has always been the best for those characters in general.
And one of the interesting things about WWE Network and what WWE is doing is you can watch some of the developmental stuff and really see those people filter to the top and the cream of the crop, I guess you could say in a weird, but it really is cool to see that level and see those people separate and how important those microphone skills, I guess we'll call microphone skills now, how important those skills are in wrestling, because it's sports and entertainment. It's the description is very apt. It is right on with with what it is, but I think it's the entertainment aspect, being able to speak and enunciate and react is so valuable.
Yeah, they might lean a little too heavy into it every once in a while, but it's always been a very critical part of the show.
Sure.
Well, Vince McMahon himself, his philosophy is that if you can't talk, you're not going to make money.
Yeah.
I was just listening to Sabu on Cole Cabana's podcast while I was at work today, and Sabu said that Vince told him that I can make a lot of money with you, but you got to learn how to talk. And Sabu was, I can't talk. I don't know how to talk. I don't want to talk. And so Sabu didn't really stick around very long.
No.
No,
I mean, my favorite performer of all time is Roddy Piper, and he was absolutely a master of being a talker.
Tremendous.
He could make anyone seem important just by talking at them. So it's very critical to sort of. I mean, think of how he put over Hulk Hogan. I mean, Hulk Hogan, not much of a wrestler, but he was an exciting talker, but.
Brother.
Yeah, but Roddy Piper being, a piece of garbage to Hulk Hogan really made you want to watch Hulk Hogan beat him up because he's so good at making you hate him.
Yeah, it was excellent. I mean, and that's the other great thing about WWE Network is watching a lot of that classic stuff, which is just so good. There's some amazing things from my childhood that I'd love just logging onto and watching. And I mean, they obviously don't have everything. There's still some pretty amazing black and white wrestling from like the 50s and 60s and stuff that's on YouTube. But
it's like since TV's existed, wrestling's been on it in some form or another. Like that's a legitimate fact. Like,
it totally is. Yeah, and it's one of those forms of entertainment that people kind of because the popularity goes up and down, and people take it for granted, quite often. I mean, it's been around forever. Mm-hmm. Every weekend there's been wrestling since it started.
I think I was thinking about it recently, and I think in terms of Monday Night Raws, I could probably count on digits how many I've missed throughout.
Oh wow,
the years.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always watched it since I was a child, and it's just always been part of my.
You're making
Monday
me feel old because I was like in my late teens when it started.
Well, what was it? 93, I think, when Raw started.
I think it was somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Well, what's your? Well, I mean, just to throw out a small topic. What's your earliest wrestling memory?
Oh, jeez. JJ, what's yours? I'll start with you guys.
Just the earliest of the Undertaker stuff. I remember Undertaker's Survivor Series debut. I think.
I'll show my age a little bit here. My earliest memory was I was watching Superstars of Wrestling on Saturday morning.
Oh, I remember that
on CBS, and I remember watching it, flipping it on, and watching King Kong Bundy attacking Hulk Hogan in the build-up to WrestleMania 2.
Oh, jeez, man!
And that is how far I go back. And granted, I probably didn't really watch it heavy until WrestleMania 3, but I do remember watching Bundy, squashing Hogan in the corner with the avalanche and that kind of stuff, and going, "Oh my God, what is this thing?"
I think I started.
To put that in perspective, my dad remembers taking me to watch WrestleMania 2 on closed circuit TV, and I was probably not even one yet.
That's right. It was closed circuit TV that you had to watch a lot of that stuff
free
before.
pay-per-view, closed circuit
Yeah.
TV. My
Um,
uncle worked for a cable company, so
oh, that worked out great. That
that
worked
worked
out.
out great. Yeah.
And they do have like a pretty awesome retrospective on the history of the WWE on the WB Network app, and that was like one of the first things I watched. I think it was on Netflix as well. But my oldest memory of wrestling, I guess it's interesting because I kind of always it was around WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 3, and I'd known about Hulk Hogan at the time. He was huge, he was popular. So I think it was just as he had started turning popular, and I had started watching that. I remember there was the Saturday morning cartoon that I was watching with Junkyard Dog and Ted DiBiase and Hulk Hogan and all those.
The rock and wrestling era.
Rock and wrestling. Yeah. And then there was I also remember just getting into WCW like towards the mid to late 80s, and it was on just exclusively on like TBS.
TBS, yeah.
Yep.
Coming WCW.
I'm sorry, it was NWA. It was NWA at that time. And I was watching those and thinking, oh, this is like the. I guess I'll watch it because I guess there's a guy named Sting on. He's like the only cool guy, but I'll watch it until the WWF actually comes back on later on in the day or something. So yeah. I do remember that era.
Yeah, I remember like during the sort of that time frame, WCW was the one that I always sort of defaulted to. I think it's because my dad was more into it because those were the guys that he grew up with. Like it was where Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes and all those guys were from. So those are the ones that I always sort of I was more into WCW for the longest time than WWF.
Yeah, Canada is notoriously WWF country, and just because of that fact that it's not as it wasn't WCW and the NWA just wasn't as accessible. I mean, there were places that had TBS, obviously, bigger centers and stuff. But I remember when I was growing up, I'd watch Superstars and Maple Leaf Wrestling and all these little offshoots of WWF stuff. Yep. And then, but I would go out to my grandmother's house. She lived, way outside town and on a different cable company package, and she had TBS where we didn't.
Oh, okay.
So when I go out there, oh boy, did I ever watch
the Superstation.
The Superstation.
Superstation.
And that's
Four Horsemen.
Totally, Four Horsemen. I mean, that's where I picked up on the Ric Flairs and Bobby Eatons and these kinds of guys that I thought were they caught my attention more than the big galoots. Though I did love Vader and those guys, but but it was it was great to go out there and watch something totally different than what I was watching at home.
I think what I liked about WCW was you typically had more of the star versus star going up against each other, or NWA, whatever it was back in the late 80s, where in WWF at the time it was you'd be lucky to see Hogan on regular TV.
Yeah.
Right. You'd see Randy Savage every once in a while. You'd see
Yeah, you were more likely to see Randy Savage than Hulk Hogan on TV.
Exactly, and they would face off against like Luke Behringer or some random dude that you'd probably a jobber that you'd see once in a long while.
Local talent number 12.
Local talent number 12, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Although one of the local talents that I always loved watching was the Brooklyn Brawler and his many incarnations. Just one of my favorite. I think he was from the Detroit area. I'd lived here in the Detroit area at some point in his life or his career, and so we kind of considered him a little bit of a local boy.
Yeah, he made a heck of a career out of just losing.
Just losing, yeah, exactly.
But everyone knows who he is. Like.
Yep. Yeah, that's totally true. It's like who do we need to lose this match? The Brooklyn. I still remember watching one match where the Brawler won, and people lost themselves. They're like, "Oh my God, the Brawler just beat Sid Justice or whoever he was going with at the time."
They'll do that from time to time with people that do that, and it's always exciting, no matter what.
Because you go into it.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, exactly. Anything can happen in wrestling.
When the 1, 2, 3 Kid beat Razor Ramon, that was one.
Yeah, that's right. The 1, 2, 3 Kid. Yeah. Oh gosh, those days. I remember he leapt all the way around the around the mat and around the ring, and then just finally was able to just
had so many names going into that too. So it was like Lightning Kid and Just the Kid. And
It's like it was a new name like every week they had for him.
Yeah, but once he beat Razor Ramon, he just was 1, 2, 3 kid.
Yep, yep. So what I kind of wanted to do first was just get, or now I guess the next step is just get a lay of the land of where the WWE's at right now. So can you guys explain to me this whole the Raw and the SmackDown split? Because I remember they've done this a few times, right? They've done the draft a couple times.
Yeah, they've done drafts a few times. After they bought WCW, they ended up having a ton of wrestlers on the roster.
Yeah.
And it just when you have that many wrestlers, it makes sense to split them apart. Back then, it was more to just tour them separately, so you could be in more tons of wrestlers in more towns.
Was it that?
I don't think they're doing that with this thing. I think they're still commingled right now, except for the live shows.
Oh, really? Okay.
Obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so the pay-per-views are they kind of keeping that talent separate in the pay-per-views, or
the big four are going to be both brands, but they are going to pay-per-views are going to be brand specific. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think after SummerSlam, where there was a couple of matches that were
already
mixed,
on the books, yeah.
Already booked, yeah. Like the Orton Brock match is a mixed brand match.
Okay.
But, that's been in stone for a while. But yeah, this brand split is. I think it's also a way to alleviate some of the pressure from having to produce 5 hours of weekly television.
Yeah.
With the same people, the same story over, week to week.
Yeah, I mean, you were draining wrestlers just emotionally, just having them spend 5 hours across 2 days telling the same story. So.
No, I can see. I mean, if anything, this helps the writers and the wrestlers to keep things fresh and original, and it'll even help some of the younger talent or less popular talent get some.
Yeah, it's weird to see them, like, they have all this young talent, and then you get, like, I just got the alert a couple minutes ago saying that Kurt Hawkins returned on SmackDown tonight.
Okay, all right.
So, it's like, I mean, what are you going to do with Kurt Hawkins? He was there, he had a successful run in a tag team and stuff, and...
Then didn't do a whole lot.
Like, Kurt Hawkins is there to lose to the people that you're bringing in now or whatever. It's weird choices.
The modern Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah, like Jinder Mahal back on Monday Night Raw. Like, it's cool that these guys have jobs with the big leagues again, but at the same time, they're not going to do anything with them.
Yeah. Well, it kind of reminds me of what they're doing on NXT from time to time when they bring in a name from the past, like when they first brought Rhino in to kind of tussle with some of the up and comers. And, he wouldn't go over them in any significant degree. He'd beat a few low-level guys, get himself built up again, and then job to Samoa Joe.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense on NXT because these are guys that a lot of those guys are still cutting their teeth, and to have them go into a match against a seasoned veteran is really smart.
Right,
yeah, very smart. Yeah.
Speaking of Rhino, he just ran for state representative here in Michigan, which is pretty funny.
I saw that. I saw the picture of him in his little bow tie.
He won, right?
I think he won in the primaries.
Yeah,
okay.
Primary, yeah.
Gotcha.
Hey, I'll vote for him. I don't know what platform he is. I don't care what party he is, but he's Rhino. And...
I don't know. Wrestlers don't necessarily have a strong record when it comes to.
Yep.
Jesse Ventura, he was.
Well, Arnold was a wrestler before he became, in a weird way, right?
In wrestling,
he was in wrestling. That's true. Yeah.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
Donald Trump was in wrestling, so maybe you're right. Maybe it's not a good record right now. So the big brand. So there's two GMs, right? That's it's the McMahon kids.
Yeah, is it? They're commissioners.
They're commissioners. I don't know what they call them right now.
They really just sort of really went all in on this nonsense. Because it would make sense to have the commissioners sort of come in from time to time, but they've been there every week now, along with the GM. So it's
I imagine that having both of them is a chance to wean the McMahons off and let them come and go rather than having them on there all the time.
But it's weird that they're playing them sort of both sides up as faces.
Mm-hmm.
Like Daniel Bryan versus Mick Foley is like nobody wants to root against either one of those guys.
No, you
That's
want to
true.
just hug them both, you know.
Yeah. Although I did like Daniel Bryan when he was on Monday Night Raw last week. He was being a little bit of a smart ass to Mick Foley, and that was fun. That was.
He did the cruiserweight, right? He was doing some of the cruiserweight stuff this week.
He's the announcer with.
I forget the other dude's
Mo-
name.
I can never.
with Morrow.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
More. Yeah.
Which I gotta say, you guys got me into watching the cruiserweight stuff. I mentioned on the pre-show, but man, that's a lot of fun because you're right, it's pure wrestling.
It's just there's no the storylines are told in the ring,
Mm-hmm.
which is which is becoming a lost art these days.
Yes.
Or to another degree, you know, they're subtly telling a story through character.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, like for example, Brian Kendrick is a great character in that show, in that he's the old guy coming back for one last shot because he kind of blew his chance the first time, or first two times, whatever it was, and now he's coming in, you know, hopeful, I'm going to make it, I'm going to do it, and then he fights dirty.
Yeah.
More, you know,
Yeah.
a little more underhanded, and what's great, you know, in terms of the context of the show, is that Daniel Bryan, he and Daniel Bryan had their first matches against each other,
Yes.
you know, way back in the day. So Daniel Bryan he's my guy, he's my one of my best friends. I want him to win, and he's fighting dirty, and he's still cheering him on no matter what. He won't break it. He's like, oh, you gotta do what you gotta do.
And you know, it's fun to. I like the video packages they were doing because a lot of these guys, none of us would know.
Mm-hmm.
Like
No.
they're from like countries that you didn't realize had a wrestling scene or whatever.
Mhm.
You know, like it's.
Yeah, I'm aware of, you know, 40% of the names tops.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a terrific idea. It's a great concept just to have this tournament where you get to see a couple matches each night or each week, and you get to
It's
start
leading
cheering.
into something, which is
Mhm.
good. I mean, they are bringing back the division for Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
So you know, not every one of those guys is going to make it, but at least you
Mhm.
have a good idea of who could be.
And who's competitive and who people are really digging, and then you start to build up some rivalries that way, you know, in a way, some
Yeah,
on-screen
very
stuff.
natural way of sort of establishing what to expect when it finally hits Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think it's great from a like a social media sense, because
Mhm.
they can track what people are saying about who, and you know, they've got 32 guys that they can look at and say, well, who do we, like you said, who can we, you know, pick from this litter, really? I mean, assuming that they all want a job in the big leagues, you know, who's good and who's not, and you know, so it ends up being a little bit of a you know, exaggerated tryout, I suppose, in a sense, but it's, you know, but it's great, you know, it's cheap to produce, it's on their own network, it's nowhere else, it's in full sale, they're making it, you know, the only thing they really did was just change up the set, and way to go, you know, it's a great way to take a look at talent and make some money off it.
I'll be interested to see where they because it's been such a successful concept that they've got to expand it into something else after this is done.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, right?
Like some sort of like a women's tournament or something.
That could be cool. That could be a lot of fun, and get you know, even more exposure for some of the great female talent on in the WWE. Yeah, I've always been. It's funny because a tournament like this is something that people have wanted out of boxing, and boxing won't do because there's so many like federations and different disciplines, and of course the weight classes are even measured differently in all the different setups in boxing, and they're doing it fantastically in the WWE, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was. I mean, I've been glued to it, and I've kind of got some folks that I'm more or less leaning towards, and just kind of, you know, ingesting some of this stuff. So it's really cool, and
and
I'm
you
glad
have
you guys
like
turned me onto it.
and you have like Triple H, who's sort of he's more willing to talk to other companies and stuff. Like, you know, a lot like some of the qualifying rounds happened out of like Evolve, and like other leagues and stuff. Like, you know, it's cool to see them sort of working closely with other companies to try to increase exposure for themselves and, you know, other talents too. So it's kind of cool that way.
Have you, speaking of Triple H, have you guys read that? It was a fantastic article about the rise of Triple H and how he kind of came when he first came over, and he wanted to be the best, and so he couldn't be the best. He ended up marrying the owner of the of the company just to make it to the top, and he was a face, and all of a sudden he became a heel because he joined the whole institution he was fighting. Have you guys read that article?
I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh my God, it's so good. Somebody posted this thing. I'll have to get Eric Smith led me to it, and I thought it was one of the most brilliant articles about Triple H's career. Like, after reading this article, I'm like, this is an American story. They should turn this into a movie because it's brilliant.
It's been a hell of a ride for that guy in particular.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the story was he was on his way up to be like the next big thing, but then when Hall and Nash were leaving for WCW, they did the Click curtain call, and somebody had to get punished, and it wasn't going to be Shawn Michaels, so sent him to the back of the line, and he had to fight his way back to the front of the company.
The curtain call was where they all stood in the ring and bowed to the crowd, breaking character completely. Yeah. Some of them were good guys, some of them were feuding with each other, and then they all got up and they just, as a farewell to Hall and Nash, who were going to another company.
Yeah, to acknowledge, not only to acknowledge that you're friends in real life, but to also acknowledge that these guys aren't going to be here tomorrow was a big no-no.
Big no-no at the time.
Is it online somewhere? I'm sure it's probably.
Oh yeah. WWE themselves show that footage now because.
Oh, okay. All right. Now that they own, It
became so important.
The only footage was like a fan's camera, in the WWE. I think they must have bought it or something off of that fan.
I'll look at it. I'll look for it now.
Totally. I mean, if you look at anything on the Click on the network, it'll inevitably be there.
Okay.
I think there is a Click retrospect that they put up on the network at some point.
I'm writing this down of things to do. It's funny. It's like you guys are giving me all this material now that I'm going to be. It's like homework. It was funny because when you first mentioned you got to watch this. I'm like, okay, here's my homework: is watch this and take notes on this and sit in front of my TV and watch their mechanics.
Watch Backlash 1999 to see that.
Before we move on, you should Dally, you should definitely check out Max Landis's little short YouTube film, "Wrestling Isn't Wrestling."
Oh yeah,
that's one that's all about Triple H's career and the ups and the downs, and
I think that was it. Maybe that was what it was.
Because it was Max Landis. It was like the gender swapped history of Triple H.
It was excellent, really, really good.
Maybe that's what I was talking about. Yeah, that's awesome because he goes into here's everything that you wanted to know about Triple. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Oh, terrific.
Excellent stuff. Okay, so we're about 9:50 right now. We're recording on a beautiful Tuesday night, a hot Tuesday night around the world. The U.S. is basically baking. I don't know what it's like up in Canada, but we're baking over here. So can you, there you go. Eric just tweeted, "Wrestling isn't wrestling." Yeah, that is it. Tell me a little about the talent split now that's between Raw and SmackDown, because I'm really kind of interested to see, because some of these, from what I've been told, the actual draft was a surprise to some of the actual talent had no idea what was going to happen, right? And some of them were angry, or I don't know, I have no idea.
Well, that's what you hear. The announcements as we heard them for a lot of those guys were exactly how were surprises to them as well. And certainly when they show clips of the NXT guys and when people were getting drafted from NXT, I usually can pick out an actor from someone who's reacting, legitimately, and they actually seem pretty surprised at that, like Nia Jax going to Raw and Finn being picked at number 5 or whatever he was a legitimate surprise to them.
It's like nobody was surprised that Finn got picked, but picked almost right off the bat was kind of a surprise for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. And so, in terms of the
Mojo Rawley being picked at all was sort of a surprise to a lot of people.
Over Nakamura, definitely a surprise.
You've got Samoa, you got their NXT champion, and nobody picked him.
Picked him. But as far as the actual list of people on both rosters, Raw probably did get the better slate of people, bigger names.
And that's the big show, right? That's their primary.
Yeah, it's their flagship. It always has been.
Totally, and they talk about they want them to be equal, they want them to compete and stuff. But SmackDown did get a it's not a terrible roster, but it's certainly not star-studded as it is on Raw.
It's a roster that they really have to groom.
Yeah,
Because like the fans in recent years, like one of their big feud right now was with Dolph Ziggler. And the fans have been sort of sick of how the company has sort of treated Dolph Ziggler, and in turn, people are turning on Dolph Ziggler. Like,
yeah.
we got sick of watching Dolph Ziggler do his Dolph Ziggler thing for so long that when all of a sudden that he's just the number one contender because it's the draft pick, and who else is going to be the number one contender out of this? Like, and it feels that way. It feels like they're sort of trying. They have to buy some time until they start grooming up some of these other people.
So is there a lot of talent that's been leaving, like retirement, and obviously with some of the injuries and things like that? Has there been a big turnover in talent over the last year or so? Because it seems to me, like just from someone who's making their way back in, that there are a lot of new names popping up right now.
It's not so much a lot of the new talent is sort of talent that's been there for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now that you've got guys like John Cena is almost not there anymore. Like,
sure,
he's there, but the focus has been sort of pulled away from him because his time is really wrapping up. I mean, he's still
once you transcend wrestling and become an internet meme, I think your time is fully up.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of guys being able to. I mean, you lost guys like CM Punk and Triple H is a part-timer. Brock Lesnar is a part-timer. Undertaker's a part-timer. Kane is a part-timer for the most part. Like these names that you've seen forever are still there, but you don't see Big Show and Mark Henry as much as you used to.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of that is just age and history and physical capability. Sure.
Yeah, I mean there was a little bit of a fat trimming there a couple of months ago when Damien Sandow and a couple of other people were let go. But I mean they weren't people who were doing a whole lot either.
I think out of all of that, the Damien Sandow release sort of, I want to say, surprised people the most, but kind of disappointed people the most.
Yeah.
Because he was a guy that really, the fans really loved him. His original character I really liked.
I did too,
That arrogant jerk uses big words and talks down to the crowd, really works. He holds his microphone like it's a wine glass,
Yeah.
He just made his debut on TNA.
Okay.
He did, yeah. But as far as a lot of new names, you're totally right. I mean, they've been calling up a lot of NXT people, and it's actually quite a credit to that program in that guys like Enzo and Cass are like ready-made superstars. I mean, they came out to a huge response and ovation, and Enzo and Cass are like starting Raw, the first segment of Raw every week now, which is huge. And Finn Balor is another one, and you've got the
some of those people
Alpha
some of those people that were huge on NXT or even moderately big on NXT don't always make the successful leap. Adam Rose.
Yeah.
He was like, when it was in the small, contained sort of environment that is, Florida down for NXT, his entrance really worked well, and it could really wind up a crowd. But when you make it a big arena production, it kind of takes away some of that too. Like,
I think they would owe a lot of the popularity of some of these younger wrestlers to just WWE Network promoting NXT and all of that. Because I remember when the Miz, when he got into WWE right after he got out of Real World, and WWE did they did like basically So You Want to Be a Wrestler show on was it MTV or USA? I can't remember which one. And he entered, and he ended up winning, and they did that show a couple more times.
And when he came into the WWE, he didn't come in as a wrestler.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. He came in as a former reality star.
Yeah.
He came in as so it was real fun. I mean, say what you want about the Miz, but he really made everything that was given to him work.
Sure,
well.
Yeah, he works hard.
I mean, he main evented a WrestleMania. Like, it's
that's crazy. It's crazy.
a WrestleMania that had the Rock involved in it at some point. Like, it's a major WrestleMania main event.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And
it's
yes,
it's sort of a forgotten event, but it was big at the time.
yeah. And so yeah, I mean, like I said, I think just that having their network is helping. And I remember when they announced it, and I thought, great, what are they gonna? Because I was actually at CES the year that they announced WWE Network, and me and Ben, who actually one of the other writers from SideQuesting, another wrestler. Actually, Ben would be great to have on the show because he used to do backyard wrestling back in the day. So we'll get some stories from him. But I remember when they announced it, and I thought, what can they have that, there's only so much wrestling that you can handle. Yeah, they'll have all the stuff from, the past, but who's going to want to rewatch all that stuff? It turns out a lot of people want to rewatch a lot of those excellent old pay-per-views and old shows, and the NXT stuff, the podcasts, the other shows that are on there.
They've had a couple of exclusive events.
Yes, yeah, things have turned out really well for WWE.
Like the Jap.
Nope, you're breaking up a little bit, JJ. John, are you still there at least?
Oh, I'm still here, yeah.
Yeah, JJ, you're breaking up just a little bit. It's probably the storms or the heat or something coming through. It may be the WWE is tapping into our network here. But yeah, the other shows. You were mentioning some of the other stuff that was taking place. But
can you hear me at all now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. All I was saying was NXT. I mean, it existed before the network, but to give it a national, because I think you can only watch it in Florida at the time.
Okay.
There was a version on YouTube, and I think
there was,
or Hulu, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's because that's where Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and that's why I saw them those guys were, Rusev was champion and stuff like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that have come through that system.
The main roster now, the main guys are that pre-WWE Network NXT crowd.
Oh, cool! Wow. So it does show. I mean, it shows that whole system works really well.
Yeah.
For developing that talent. Yeah.
It's kind of amazing to see sort of Triple H. That's his baby.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he's sort of been able to turn around. People's opinions of him based strictly on how he's been treating the business since he's sort of gotten out of it full time and become a boss essentially.
Yeah, because he certainly had a perception while he was the top talent that he was holding guys down or putting himself on top, and there was quite a bit of online negativity toward him, but now he's the second coming, savior of wrestling.
I was never more angry at Triple H than when WrestleMania 19 when he beat Booker T.
Yeah, that
was the whole bad set of things that they kind of turned racist at a point.
And
then he wins. They're setting up for Booker T to become champion at WrestleMania, and then Triple H just beats him.
And Triple H beats him.
Yeah. It was those kinds of moves that made people really this guy's kind of an ass. He's champion. You could turn on WWE at any given time if you just boot up the network and choose some random date in 2004. Chances are he's going to be world champion.
Yeah, it's true. Yep. Pre 2000 is Hogan. Post 2000 is Triple H.
Yeah.
Yep. Excellent. Well, I think for a first attempt, we've got 45 minutes out of a show.
Yeah.
Just kind of explaining the lay of the land, and hopefully that the listeners and the viewers who watched enjoyed our little chat so far. We have a bunch of cool ideas. I know JJ had some interesting stuff that he wanted to try out that we might get into going forward. I know there's a lot of cool things we could talk about wrestling-wise that aren't just the breaking news. There's also a lot of cool history stuff. There's a lot of whole culture that I would definitely get into that. So
make sure to learn all the lingo, all the carny speak, and
that's a whole episode right there. I'm gonna have to that's my homework for next week is to come in and know enough of it. But if you have any comments, any thoughts, any ideas, if you like this first show, feel free to let us know. You can tweet at me at Dolly Domofsky. John, where can they tweet you?
Yeah, I am at John Kehoe on Twitter, JONKEHOE, and yeah, I'll chat with anybody. So
please, somebody chat with me,
especially about wrestling. So yeah, bring it on.
Absolutely about wrestling.
Yes, JJ, where can they find you?
It's the double J, the _double_J.
Cool. And with that being said, we'll get this episode up on iTunes pretty soon here. If it is on iTunes, if you're listening to this through iTunes, please rate and review us and do all that fun stuff that you hear at the end of every podcast that we want you to do as well.
Yes, I need positive reinforcement.
Yes, we do an okay job, Dad. I can do. Let us know what you thought, and feel free to tweet at us, send us your comments, ideas. We are just getting this show started and looking forward to having a lot of fun and seeing where it goes. So that's it. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys and gals and kids and everybody and animals, pets. Maybe there's some pets listening. Grandma in the car.
My dogs are right next to me, so they're
perfect. On the next episode. See ya. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
See